What's going on? If you're thinking about getting the Air ECOPAC Pro 2 and you're trying to decide on what fabric option to get it in, Air just launched it in the ECOPAC material, which is making it even harder for people to decide. I'm a very big fan of ECOPAC, so when they made the announcement, I was definitely very much excited. On this video, I'll spend a little bit of time talking about the subtle refinements that they made in this version, specifically over the rest of the versions, but I'll focus most of the time on just giving you my perspective on the different material options, ballistic nylon, ECOPAC, as well as Ultra and XPAC, not in the exact bag, but in the CPP2, and then their slim pack in XPAC, to hopefully give you some clarity as you're trying to make that decision for yourself and your specific use case. And then ultimately I'll share my ranking based off of my personal preferences. So let's get into it. So as far as the changes go, the main ones you'll see here in the top admin panel. The one that I really like is the fact that they included a little pen sleeve. This is something that I've talked about in other videos. I understand that as people, we are moving more and more into a digital world. And with that, it's becoming more and more rare to have a dedicated pen sleeve in backpacks, slings, pouches. And it's definitely a value add for me as someone that does carry a pen with me, whether in my tech pouch or in my backpack in my day-to-day life. And then the second main thing that they added is the key leash is now removable. So previously it's just stitched onto the front stash pocket here, which I always felt was like an interesting place for a key leash in the sense that this pocket right here is pretty spacious, too spacious for where I would want my keys unless they had a little sleeve in there where I could tuck it in. But here it gives you flexibility. So I think this makes for a much more ideal place for your keys. But in case you don't want them there or you don't want a key leash at all, you could remove it. And then there's a few other like latch points as well as here for you to put the keys wherever it is that you want them to go. Now, as far as the different fabric options, the ballistic nylon is kind of like the Air signature. They've been doing it with this forever. And it's also the cheapest one. So I feel like the three places where ballistic nylon is just a better fit for most people than going with one of the more technical options are the fact that it has a more professional look. Secondly, the longevity factor, which I'll get into. And then lastly, 3 of the 5 zippers are not PU coated. That also ties into the whole longevity aspect. I think that holistically, and something that Air is known for, is that they overbuild everything that they do. So if I was looking for like a tough bag, all of these material options that I'll talk about are complete overkill. While technically the ballistic nylon is not as strong from like an abrasion or tear strength resistance as the other ones, like 1680D, this thing is absolutely bomb-proof. And a lot of these technologies are a lot newer, so we don't have a lot of like data on how well they perform long-term, more specifically around the longevity. So starting off with the look, like ballistic nylon, Tumi's been doing ballistic nylon for a very, very long time. So I think there's already that association with ballistic nylon fitting into like an executive type setting. And it's like that perfect in between for someone that wants something that blends into that professional setting, but also something that is functional compared to other more like premium materials like leather or canvas. I went to Vegas last week for like my company's like annual kickoff, and I was trying to decide on what backpack to bring as per usual. And originally I was gonna bring the CPP2 in Ultra, which functionally like would have been perfect for that. But ultimately I felt like it was just like looked a little bit too technical, a little too intense for that setting. Ultimately I ended up taking like my Panda pack, which comes in their proprietary like Mandarin 840D ballistic nylon. And I'm glad I made that choice when I went there. Beyond the look, there's the longevity factor, and that is specifically around 2 things. When you are dealing with these like incredibly advanced materials that have crazy properties in terms of strength to weight ratios, like 10 to 15 times that of actual steel. So they yield materials that are super strong, they're super lightweight relative to how strong they are, and they're also incredibly waterproof. But on the flip side of that coin, these materials, especially over time, when you expose them to heat and humidity, they are prone to delaminating, and the same thing applies to PU coated zippers. So on the ballistic nylon version, 3 of the 5 zippers, which ties into the other point, 3 of the 5 are non-PU coated, so less places where you could have that peeling delamination. And then also ballistic nylon's been around forever. Worth noting, I don't have the CPAC Pro 2 specifically in XPAC or Ultra, but comparing the ECOPAC version that has fully PU coated zippers and the ballistic nylon CPAC Pro 2, pilgrim churned butter smoothness rating, it's 8.7 ECOPAC for me, 8.8 ballistic nylon. Honestly, the main compartment zipper, they feel about the same. The ballistic nylon maybe slightly better. Where you feel a more like tangible smoothness is the top quick access pocket on the ballistic nylon one, as well as the top front stash compartment, which is surprisingly smooth as well on the ECOPAC, but just the non-PU coated zippers on the ballistic nylon version edge it by a little bit. If I'm the kind of person that maybe you're like early days into the vortex that is bags, or maybe you just like never like go down that vortex, which like your wallet will thank you, and you're replacing a bag that you've had for a very long time, and your intention with this bag is for it to last as long as possible before having to replace it again, then at that point I'd probably just go with the ballistic nylon. It is going to be the safest choice in that sense. Now, while clearly those are strong reasons to go for the ballistic nylon over ECOPAC or XPAC or Ultra, I think a few things worthwhile considering where these shine, all 3 of these, over this one. And they are that these are just easier to clean. They're a lot more waterproof than the ballistic nylon is. And then the last one is that they are lighter. And while the difference is not super significant, I think if you're looking to buy this bag for like a hybrid of your everyday carry bag, as well as a bag that you can use for like short, like 1 to 2 night, 1 bagging trips, and you're pretty minimal with what you carry, especially if you live in a part of the world where they're actually weighing like your personal item or your carry-on item, then that is also a reason to go for one of these. But yeah, as far as cleaning it go, the way the nylon fibers are structured with ballistic nylon, when you scuff it, you kind of have to get like a sponge and water. Like it's usually just like licking your finger won't remove it. Whereas ECOPAC, Ultra, and XPAC, some scuff easier than others. I'll get into that when I go into each of these material options. But just all in all, the nature of the material, it cleans off more easily. For me, I'd say like the 2 biggest reasons why I would feel a lot more compelled to go with one of the more technical fabrics over ballistic nylon is, number 1 is the peace of mind that comes with just like protection from the elements, like the rain specifically. So if I lived in a place like the Pacific Northwest and I'm commuting where I'm dealing with rain quite a bit, then it would be a pretty easy choice to go with one of these. The second scenario is like if you already have more than 1 backpack, or you know yourself and you know that you're probably going to start buying specific bags for like specific use cases across like different sizes, then yeah, I mean, technology has come a really long way. I think for the exploration of like all the cool shit that's coming out, there might be a really fun option in one of the more technical ones, which I'll talk about here in a second. And I say that also because if you're going to be rotating through a lot of different bags, or even just 2 or 3 bags, then the pitfalls of having one of these, like delamination, peeling, things like that, the bag's not going to get used as much, and it's probably going to take a very long time. I have an Air Tech pack that I've had forever, and it has PU coated zippers, and for a while it was literally the only bag I was using. And then around like the 4-year mark, I started noticing like a little bit of peeling on the PU coating for the zippers. Now, like I said, whichever one you go with is still gonna be overkill for 99% of people. There are people in this world that they might buy like the most expensive trim of like a Jeep Wrangler or a Bronco with all of the craziest like off-road features and components built into it. And even them knowing that they'll likely never take it serious off-roading, where those additional upgrades aren't really providing them with a lot of real world value. If having all of those crazy things is gonna like give you additional peace of mind or just bring you joy, knowing that even though you'll probably never go on a crazy adventure where you'll put those things to the test, knowing that if you wanted to, you could. If you have the money for it and you just want the most like crazy overkill advanced thing, then yeah, embrace that. If that's part of your personality, like go for it, right? And I think that's the territory you start entering when we're talking about these materials. Now, at a very high level, this is not the CPAC Pro 2. This is a slim pack, but an XPAC. All of these three options, Ultra, XPAC, and ECOPAC, are gonna give you even more peace of mind in terms of tear strength, abrasion resistance, and waterproofing over the ballistic nylon. I do wanna call out though that I had the ballistic nylon version last year when we were in Spain. It rained like 90% of our trip. I did like a whole like rain test where I left it out in like perpetual rain. It was like raining like a 6 out of 10 for 30 minutes. In my review of the CPAC Pro 2, which I'll link below, you can see that, but like the TLDR is it still performed very well in the rain. Like it soaked through a little bit, but most of the inside of the bag was still perfectly dry, especially the places where they use PU coated zippers, like the dedicated laptop compartment, the front stash pocket. Out of all these three, the lightest one is the Ultra, followed by XPAC and ECOPAC are like 0.01 pound of a difference. So they're pretty much identical in weight. And the Ultra is technically like a little bit superior in terms of like tear strength and abrasion resistance, followed by ECOPAC and then XPAC. Between the three, like this is where I stack them up against one another. My first choice would be ECOPAC. Secondly, and close to would be XPAC and then Ultra. And here's why. So in terms of materials, like I always prefer natural materials. Like wax canvas is easily my favorite material for backpacks, but it's not the most functional in the sense that it is definitely like a lot heavier, right? You have to wax it in order to give it like semi-comparable water resistance to something like this, and it's still not even close. But just the look and feel of natural materials make me super happy. ECOPAC, while yes, is very much a technical material, out of all of them, it is definitely the one that is softest and most malleable and has like the most natural hand feel to it. So if that's something that you value, that's like a big reason to go for the ECOPAC. You'll notice that unlike traditional woven nylons, the nature of the fabric structure of these more technical materials, you'll see like the contours of these ply lines, kind of like grid lines that run through it. And they are pretty visible on the Ultra and even more visible, but kind of like in a clean, sleek way on the XPAC. And those lines, you can see them on the ECOPAC, but they're more subdued. So it just makes it look the least technical out of the three, which I think makes it more versatile, like in a more professional setting, depending on what you do. In this coyote color, I get that maybe won't fit in as seamlessly in a business setting. It's funny, like color-wise, when I moved to Utah 10 years ago, you know, here, all of like the technical gear, whether it was like ski apparel, like tents, this color was everywhere on everything, and I loved it. And I think I overdid it. I bought so much stuff in this color that I'm kind of like on a hiatus, but yeah, I try to separate myself from that. It still looks awesome in this color. I really hope that it sells really well so that they can roll it out in maybe like a black or some other cool like forest green. Yes, please. One thing I would have liked to see though on the ECOPAC version is that they use the same exact gray liner for this one than they did on the ballistic nylon. On XPAC, they use orange. On the Ultra, they use gray with like a subtle lime green color, but they did the liner, the Evergood Signal Blue. I'm not even like a big like royal blue person, but I don't know, something like that with a little bit of pop, give people another reason to go for the ECOPAC would be super exciting for me. But yeah, one call out, all of these fabrics are prone to pimpling as well. It's just the nature of the material. But I think out of all of them, ECOPAC is one of the ones where it's like just more of the nature of the material where you might see this like right out of the bat. So even though like this channel is nitpacker and I'm a very nitpicky person, you can see it. It's more noticeable on the shoulder straps, the pimpling. If that's something that's gonna drive you crazy, like don't get ECOPAC. And you know, I think with the Ultra material, there's already this like paper mache, like crumpled, wrinkled effect going on where that pimpling, you won't see it as much, but on XPAC, it's something that also happens over time. It's just not as common for you to see it like right out of the gate as well. Okay, so and then number 2, I would say is XPAC, and not by much. And honestly, like the Ultra material is the most polarizing of all of them. My wife is not a fan. She's like, hey, I need a backpack. Which one do you recommend? Like, I don't want something too big or too small. And I was like, do you want this one, the City Pack 2? And she like loved the shape, the size, the organization, but she's like not about the crazy wrinkling that it's got going on. I think for the untrained eye, it might look the cheapest. And for the trained eye, it looks the most sophisticated, especially when you look at it up close. It has this like carbon fiber snakeskin action going on. But to me, why I still prefer the XPAC is it's like less aggressive, and in that sense, it's more versatile. I look for versatility in bags. You know, a lot of it has to do with like how I use bags, what I do for a living. Like I'm in software sales, and I think just showing up to anything in person around other people, I feel like this just blends in more easily than the Ultra does. It's still a really cool material, and I really like it. Their Simple Kit, for example, I have it in Ultra, and because it's just like less fabric, like it works really well in kind of that smaller format. Would be really interesting to see this in their white Ultra as well. All in all, I think XPAC sits nicely in between in the sense that it is still technical, but can still blend into a more professional setting. One worthwhile call out though is that the XPAC out of the 3 I find is the one that scuffs the most easily, but it also cleans off very easily. So it's not a big deal, but with the Ultra or the ECOPAC, especially because like the Ultra is not like fully a black, it looks like a very dark charcoal gray, and then ECOPAC just the color that it is, but when you go to scuff it, it's like barely visible. Psychologically, the ECOPAC and the Ultra make me want to just like be really rough with them, and the XPAC, even though I know it's incredibly strong, I just baby it a little bit more. Another worthwhile consideration, and it's something that is like I'm still like mixed feelings about the XPAC for one big reason, and it's just the orange liner, which I've gotten accustomed to, but it's like, it's pretty bright and it looks really cool at first, but it is like a quite stimulating to the cornea orange. And so if you're kind of like sensitive to visual stimuli like that, something to keep in mind. Honestly, like the Ultra version uses this lime green color, which you'd think would be super bright, but it's like they took the saturation from 100 and brought it down to like 68, and it is not bright at all in the way that the orange is. But they did in certain areas like fully lime green, other areas, like as you can see here, it's still gray with like little touches on the inside of that lime green. I personally like would love either the XPAC with that lime green material, or even better, like ECOPAC with lime green, just not in that coyote color. Whether it's like their black or even forest green could work with that. Maybe something else. So yeah, final thoughts. If you don't live in a place where it rains a lot, and when you're traveling, like you're cool not having the additional layer of peace of mind that comes with a technical fabric like this, that you could just like sit around in the rain forever, and you could still accomplish that by just carrying a small packable like waterproof membrane to put over your bag in case it does rain super hardcore. And you want a bag that's gonna last you as long as possible, because like you don't want to have any other bags in your life for the foreseeable future, then just keep it simple and go with a ballistic nylon, and also save your money. Now, if you either have multiple bags, you're gonna be rotating through them, and you're like feeling adventurous, you want something a little bit more sophisticated in that sense, or you're like part of the 2% of human beings where the ballistic nylon is actually not overkill for you because you're incredibly rough with your stuff and you want the most hardcore thing possible. I mean, on the end of that spectrum of like how rough you can be with something and it like hold up to it would be the Ultra. So really it just comes down to like the look and feel. Do you vibe with it or not? This one is definitely the most polarizing. But if you want to be able to use it in a more professional setting, you're set on like having the technical properties, but you also want to blend in a little bit more seamlessly, then probably as of today, the XPAC's your best choice in black, right? For that sort of setting. But all in all, like if you're totally cool rocking a bag in this color, of the technical materials, like all things considered, ECOPAC is my favorite one because of just the hand feel. It's the softest, it's the most malleable, so it gives you that functional expandability. And then lastly, the ply lines from that like crazy yarn architecture are most subdued on the ECOPAC, which makes it look the least technical out of all of them. Other than that, best of luck. Cheers.